All right, open the meeting. Welcome to the August 7th, 2024 Berlin Conservation Commission meeting. You're being recorded. Don't say anything you don't want everybody to see on YouTube forever. Robin, can you pass the sign-in sheet to Jonathan and to these guys?
Susan.
Thank you. It was in here. It just wasn't coming up. Right. Thank you. All right.
Don't worry about it, Mary. I forget my name too.
Previous minutes. Everybody get a chance to review the minutes that Maddie sent out yesterday?
Yesterday,
Yep.
Last night.
Okay.
I move that we approve the previous minutes of the.
Right,
of the-
actually, there were two.
It's-
It was.
I read them both, thought they were all right, so whatever,
June 12th
whatever
and
date you
July
wanna pick.
17th.
Yep, June 12th and July 17th.
I believe that's right.
I move that
Oh,
we
good.
approve the minutes of June
June 12th,
12th and July
17th.
17th.
It's going. Good.
Someone-
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Any further discussion or corrections, voting on minutes? Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 We have minutes. Excellent. Treasurer's report?
So, good news, we did get the Solomon Pond mitigation money.
nice.
So our open space is no longer $500. So our open space currently is at $28,302.78.
Nice.
Much better.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's the one that was like shorted from what we spent on.
Yep, from what
Okay.
we borrowed.
So was that for the last fiscal year or this FY25? No big deal.
Yeah, no, because it comes in like October, November. But we had to vote at town meeting to repay the money that we had borrowed.
Okay, so it's coming from like the one that we would get this upcoming October?
No, it came
Previous
from
year.
the previous payment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
So
couldn't have the
so
money
we
till
have,
voted.
I think we have 2 or 3 more.
yeah, I thought there was only a
But
few more left.
that's it, but
Yeah.
still.
Still more money,
Yep.
we'll take it.
And that's
Awesome.
from Solomon Pond.
Yep.
Yep, and then, so our wetlands count has $14,531.57, and our annual budget is at $1,519 after MACC's dues.
Awesome. Excellent. Great. And bills and forms.
So, I don't think we have any bills. So, last time, we had a 72 Carter bill come through, but June was looking into it, and apparently there was money already appropriated towards that bill, so
Right.
we didn't have to pay it.
Good.
Yes. Thank goodness.
Yep.
Yeah. No mail,
Been pretty
other
quiet.
than what we gave to Peg.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, the email's been crazy quiet too.
Yeah, yep, we do have an
Don't
RDA.
change it.
coming
Yeah,
up.
right? Exactly.
Yeah, so we do have an RDA, so we will have to hold our next August meeting.
Okay.
Is that the 21st?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I won't be here for that one.
Okay.
Be
Will
away.
enough other people? I know. Mr. Let me see if I'm gonna be in the state.
I will be here.
Excellent.
I will be here for sure. I'm not going
Okay.
anywhere for
So
a
that's August
while.
21st, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Should be here.
All right.
I'll
We
be here.
should, did we already cancel the September 4th?
Yep.
Okay, right, so September 4th is canceled. Because I won't be in the state,
So we'll only have the 18th?
Only one in September.
only the 18th.
So the 21st is the next meeting,
Hmm?
The 21st is the next
You'll
meeting.
be here?
And
August.
it's in August,
All right, I think
August 21st.
we'll miss you, Robin, but
21st.
Yeah.
You'll survive.
we'll persevere.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Put that on calendar.
Maplewood, I haven't heard anything.
If you assign me to look at it, I'll do it. I keep putting it off. I was gonna
Okay.
look at that thing all month long, and I thought of it this afternoon, I still didn't do it.
Okay.
I will volunteer to check that out before the next meeting.
I would
Report
appreciate
back.
that very
Okay.
much. Consider yourself assigned.
Thank you.
Highland Ridge, actually the most recent monitoring report that, you emailed today, right?
It did, yep.
My printer printed upside down.
Oh, your stapler stapled upside down. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is the wood chips, and I don't know that we're really gonna get that resolved. It's not,
There's a little bit of stuff growing in the wood chips, but it's just random
right, and it
bits
will,
and pieces.
it's stable, which is our main concern.
Just don't know
If
how-
I may just offer as a casual observer, I have a lot of wood chips in my yard and blueberries grow great there.
Oh, great.
You could throw just a few of them and they would spread out and eventually fill in, I would suspect, just saying.
That would be nice. Yeah, some low bush native cultivars.
Actually, I think I saw some in your backyard.
Not my backyard, I wish I had blueberries in my yard. But, and the swale is looking good. So, yeah, so,
Okay.
as far as we're concerned, it's looking good.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Actually, go back to the pond for a sec. Oh, cattails, no purple loosestrife. That's good too.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, that looks really good.
Well, there's some big patches of purple loosestrife here in town.
Oh, yeah.
Are there really? I haven't seen any lately.
You know the shared vegetable gardens
Down the
across the
community
street
garden,
from
or-
that? Yeah,
Okay, over by the hotel.
across
down
the
in
street
there,
from
yeah.
that. It is just, wow.
Yeah. I wonder if we, maybe in the spring, wanna organize a pull.
What is that
Can't-
anyway?
Purple loosestrife is, it's an invasive wetlands,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you see wet with like tall magenta purpley
They're kind of pretty.
flowers, they are pretty.
Which I think is why they proliferated, because people were pulling them and planting them in their yard. Isn't that how
Right,
they
or
kinda-
people were just letting them grow, cause they
Yeah.
were like, oh, isn't
that's
that pretty?
pretty.
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh.
Yeah. So is that only a
There's
Northeast
nothing
thing? Have you ever
else.
seen those in the Midwest?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, it's.
They look like that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a real
they are. It
scourge
looks
in
lovely
some of
from
the
road.
lakes.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of it's been mitigated with some insect that they
Yep.
controlled releases of that specifically eats the loosestrife.
I was gonna say, I feel like I haven't seen it as much in the last few years.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
this year, oh my God,
It's
really?
everywhere,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, clearly
I
I'm not
think
getting out
so.
much.
Yeah.
Even when you go down by the South Cemetery and Sawyer Hill Road, right up in the Highland, it's all that field's all loose strife and down across them, down Tyler's, Reese's Flats, across, well, yeah, I heard you say,
That's it,
across
yeah.
my garden, down in my backyard, yeah.
Yeah, Skip Sawyer's, the stream there,
Yeah.
that's just
Oh, yeah.
And the
loaded
cardinal
with
flowers in my backyard are beautiful. They're
That's
really
awesome.
something. That's
You-
native though.
Mine
Yeah.
are nearly 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
Taller than
The
that.
cardinal flowers? Wow,
No, there's a yellow loosestrife, I think that's native here.
I believe that's true.
But it's not aggressive like purple
Right.
loosestrife. It grows in drier soils as well.
You know, I think this invasive thing is beyond the pale. Forget it. It's over. You ride around, I was talking to Gail about it today, you can't even see in the woods anymore.
I know.
You go along the street, you can't see the stone walls, you can't look at trees, the loose strife, the bittersweet, it's crazy.
The bittersweet is
And
terrible.
It's gotten really bad this
way,
year.
way beyond
Yeah.
control.
Yep.
And that's why, I mean, enjoy yourself if you wanna pull it, I've got other stuff to do. It's hopeless.
It is kind of hopeless.
It is hopeless.
It is
You've
I
seen
thought
my
I
yard.
took care of it.
Yeah.
With a vengeance. You,
Right.
The more you do something about it, the worse it
without
gets.
Yeah.
a tremendous like concerted effort and a continued effort, yeah, and then it's like, okay, but the town next door isn't doing anything, so
Right. Yep.
I see where you're coming from. The only upside I can see is that it's usually on those kind of interstitial areas, as in other words, like you get through that initial barrier of bittersweet right out by the side of the road, and then it calms right down when you get
Yeah.
into the woods. But that's only one of them, and it's
Speaking of that, does anybody notice the River Road stone wall?
Oh my, what a
If anybody
transition.
knows why.
I know, I haven't gone down there. I
You
meant
cleaned
to.
that out a few months ago, right?
Yeah, if you go around the road and head towards Hudson, that meadow that we own down there, that whole beautiful stone wall is shows, I cut all the way along there, and then I think the guy that owns the Tyler Farm will hire masons and fix the wall. That was a nice wall when I was a kid. It was, when they moved the road down, it was built nice. In fact, I used to get the cows way down the other end, I'd run along the wall, it was just a nice wall. And then when the people Reese's bought the farm, they started robbing the wall, and so there's gaps in it, but some of it's fallen over. Get that wall fixed up, and I get a lot of compliments on it. It looks beautiful down through there.
Excellent.
Sure
Well,
does.
I will try to make an effort to drive by. But thank you. Thank you for your effort, even if I haven't seen it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looks like the old days, back in the 50s. Brush is taken care of, and looks good.
All right. Allen Road, CSX train derailment. Some of us took a site walk yesterday, and Jonathan is here to speak to.
Oh, good. Look at you.
Hello,
I know,
everyone.
nice.
I know.
Yeah, wow.
Very fancy.
Yeah. Saw many of you yesterday. Jonathan Schuster with TRC, and I just thought might as well come because I live the next town over and we can discuss.
That's awesome.
So, so we all did the site walk together, or most of us, looking at a few things, including the repair of the stream bank and head wall and end wall of culverts, and that's the culvert we got to cross over to get to the right of way, as well as the head wall of the culvert that goes underneath the train tracks. I think we all saw that the far side of the tracks were well stabilized with native seed mix and some tag-alongs that were not in the mix, but
Right. So these pictures, the picture before.
Yep, so these are this is a year ago.
Right.
This is
So
when
this
the
is
train derailment happened.
that's all the trash.
Yep,
Right.
yeah, all the
Just to
disturbed
kind
soil.
of compare to what we then saw yesterday. So that was the culvert. It's amazing how much better it looks now.
Yeah.
and there was all bare earth before, because basically they had to over excavate and get the trash that was ground into the dirt there. So we were kind of starting with bare soil, and that's where we hand seeded the New England Wetland Plants mix.
Did you get any pictures of the culvert?
I don't think I have the culvert. Yeah.
I have
That's
some
a
photos
bummer.
in
That's-
my phone if we want to pass that around.
I did grab some, I just didn't send them to Maddie. Which ones are you thinking of? Like which culvert, the bigger
The
one? or
one, the first one that you walk in over, or really either of them.
I think I did get a photo of that, let me just.
But as you can see, it looks significantly better than it did. So one of the things that we said yesterday that we wanted to discuss in open meeting was removing, especially the silt fence. As you can see, it's not really being very effective at the moment. But the area on the east side of the tracks is stable, and the biggest thing is we don't want the silt fence to be abandoned. so we said we would talk about that. Does anybody have feelings about the wattles?
Given that the soil surrounding it seem pretty stable, and it is wrapped in synthetic, I think, and it's more likely to get dealt with if they do it all at once.
Yep.
I would
agree.
say that we should probably
Yep.
ask them to just yank it all and just
Agreed.
leave
Alright, can you go to
the
the
For
jute.
the
picture
sake of
before
the
that?
frogs.
Yeah,
Right.
that too.
Yep.
So I would leave the jute netting, cause that'll just decompose.
Sure. Yep.
I will
When they
note.
remove the silt fence and wattles, seed the bare, it's gonna leave a,
We can do that. I've also seen, we don't have to do this with the straw that's within the wattle. Sometimes I've seen commissions want that to be cut and kind of leave to stabilize, or we could just pull the whole thing, put down a little seed mix and a little, loose straw if needed.
if they cut it, will they remove the plastic or leave it?
Well, yeah, exactly. So if they
That's-
are cutting, they have to
that's
make
the-
sure they get all that netting out of there. And I will note the white thing you were seeing was the boom that was originally crossing the stream last year. So
Yeah.
that would kind of be like the third component that they would be removing. There's the wattle that's along that black silt fence, as
Right,
well as
so
wattle
the-
along the stream in that
Yeah, the
right-hand
boom
photo.
is.
Yeah, the boom is
yeah.
that white thing kind of draped over the rock in the background.
Yep.
Yep, I can certainly instruct them to remove
Right, well,
those
so we
elements.
should vote on that,
I'll make a motion to remove the silt fence and the straw wattle.
Second.
and the boom.
And
Oh.
boom.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Do we want them to just cut it open and leave it like you said, or are we gonna have them remove it and?
I don't think so, cause I'm not seeing all the other debris that they have left. I'm not
Mm.
convinced that they would see the value in
Yeah,
taking that netting out of there.
okay,
I think I'd rather see it removed and seeded
okay.
and some loose straw from something else.
Understood.
Personally, yeah.
Yep, I agreed.
All right, we didn't actually vote. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, and obviously, everything removed off-site,
Right.
properly disposed of, not thrown with the railroad ties.
Right. Yep, so that's sort of the next topic. There were, there was a lot of track repair, maybe spurred by the derailment, but separate from it as track maintenance. In the course of doing that, we noted debris in a few piles, some of which was within this work area that
Sure.
we were all looking at. So when they're out there, I would instruct them, my recommendation would be to instruct them to remove the pile we saw when you first enter on the west side of the tracks. In terms of just the spare old railroad ties that are left, I imagine if you were to walk all along these tracks, you'd see a repeat of that every so often. So
Right.
I don't know if the commission has a preference or a strong preference on what they may want to see with that. We can certainly get rid of the piles of loose debris that are close to the tracks in that vicinity.
Right, and the piles of buckets of whatever chemicals.
Drinking water.
Yeah.
I
Ask
think picking
questions.
up those old ties, there's quite a pile of them down
Right, so
there
there's
on
the
side.
wall of old
The wall of
ties
ties
down
down.
by
Yeah.
the
Road,
intersection.
5 or
Down by
600.
the corners, yeah. There's-
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
They're about to
Right
knock
behind the
over
realty
tree all
office.
those.
It's, they're stacked
Like
neatly.
literally a
I wonder if
wall.
it isn't that they're
Yeah,
gonna come
that's
pick
a
those
Bridge
up.
I
Realty.
think
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
must be,
it's-
I mean, there's no.
Yep.
Check
Did
them
you
out.
see those?
I was just
Yeah.
saying, yeah, I was
Right,
responding to
but
AJ was saying it
those
was-
are
but-
easily within 200 feet of North Brook, which is
Mhm.
right there.
Yeah.
So, we certainly are within, they're not part of the work area, but,
Yeah, so one thing I could do is communicate those things that are necessary and related to the work, as well as communicate a preference of the commission as to what you would like to see for these, for ties and things that are left adjacent to the rail that is still actively being repaired or recently was. I can sort of phrase it that way. if
That would be great,
Makes sense?
yeah.
Okay.
So,
It's almost an ask, What is your plan around that? Because we don't wanna have to look at it.
Right, well, yeah. So as far as the work area goes, certainly all debris, anything that would be considered litter, like I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but, and then we would prefer that they also clean up all the railroad ties and, cause that's just leaching whatever it is. I mean, do they still use creosote? Do you know?
I think, so I
the
think
old
they
ones
could
they
be,
would.
But there's
Yeah.
definitely the old ones that
there's
are there.
like the
that are just-
black,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, preservative on it that I think is creosote, and these also could be, I don't know if these are like new old stock ties or like
Right.
they have a stockpile of them and they're just still using them in that way, but,
Well, those ones are probably the ones that pulled out of there. Ones that
yeah,
just
the
had
ones that were, yeah, so those certainly,
Those were all beat
those
back.
could
Like,
have.
Those are gonna be old, those are gonna have creosote on them for sure.
Right.
If they're
You
the
can
original
smell.
ties. Well, not original, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
older.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can certainly make that inquiry and get a bit more information, kind of separate from, you know, the discussion of, you know, the site itself and what's under the, you know, what's necessary for the permit closeout, let's say.
Right,
Great.
that would be great.
And I guess the, sort of the final thing, now that we're all officially in the room and many of you have seen the site, in terms of closing out the permit, I wanted to review, you know, what the expectation was in terms of monitoring period. If we, you know, we've seen the site is stable, the culvert head walls have been repaired, we've accomplished those goals. If the debris can be removed and the erosion control could be removed, and we could provide, let's say, a photo log of that and just a brief description to the commission, would the commission feel comfortable closing this permit out following that in the coming months? Or did the commission want to see a longer term of monitoring? But I would just sort of wanted to get a straw poll of that at the moment, what people think.
Well, let's take a little poll. We'll start with you.
Do we have anything in writing in our, like, the order of conditions? What the monitoring period was?
I thought it was a year. No?
It's usually 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
usually to make sure
Right.
it goes through, you know,
Okay.
a couple of full growing seasons.
True. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, I mean, regardless of time period, I guess I would wanna continue monitoring just to make sure that they clear stuff out of there. So,
Yeah. that
so
was-
whether that's a
that
year or
was
2
made clear.
years, like, until they clear, you know, get stuff out of there, I think we should be.
Sure, or is it more motivation if we say, sure, once you clean that up?
Yeah, if they get stuff cleared out, sure, but I'm not holding my
Right,
breath.
which I think is kind of your question, right?
I was posing that the COC would be contingent upon the evidence that we have removed the erosion control and the debris.
Right.
But that could be within the next month, let's say. So that,
Right,
It's just watching if you backseat after you remove the erosion controls to ensure that we don't have a, you know, a 2-foot gap.
Yeah, I feel like there needs to be a little more time than just,
But this is the optimal time to do that seeding,
Yeah.
and I bet by October we can we'll know if that took, maybe even sooner. So,
I still think we should at least see through the spring.
yeah.
I
See
think
what-
that's a good idea.
I agree.
Walter?
I can live with that.
All right.
Assuming they get
I
rid
think-
of all the stuff
Right.
and get it seeded.
Right, right, removal of the debris.
Yeah.
Stabilizing of the final stabilization, and of the erosion controls, and then final stabilization of where all that was.
But the debris in that particular area, not necessarily. for-
Right, so I'm trying to, so like that pile of buckets, was that actually on CSX land, or?
I think
is
that was, I think
okay.
that was in the right of way and within the site. I think generally speaking, outside of the site proper, you would find additional debris along
Sure.
along the track. But just looking at the site, to me, yeah, I'm thinking specifically of like those buckets, maybe the diesel can that's a little bit further down.
Yep.
I'll ask the question about the ties.
And that would be along all the tracks in Berlin, right?
No, unfortunately.
Oh.
That's much more likely
We
to
don't
be
have
wrong.
that much jurisdiction.
Right.
Yeah, because there's on the Linden Street crossing, there
Oh, it's
used to be a
everywhere.
pile of
Mhm.
buckets, and those are gone, but there's still a few scraps
Mhm.
left behind. And I do believe down like Crosby Road, so there's some ties that have been left there.
They have stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I've made a mention of
There's
this
still-
to
Yeah.
my client.
They're
that-
still working.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, they
for
are.
sure.
Still work track.
Yep. Yeah, actually,
They were
Randall
there
Road was
Sunday,
closed
The
today.
whole crew was there Sunday, putting in, replacing ties all along between Jones Road and Crosby Road, that
Mm.
whole stretch in there. They're
Right.
working away.
Yeah,
Nice.
they were working on the Randall Road crossing today.
Yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
like Randall Road was
Yeah.
closed off.
Yeah, I saw that.
And generally, this, the replacement of ties, the fixing up of the track is considered maintenance, even if it is, let's say, within the 200-foot riverfront or 100-foot buffer zone, but there's still a
Which
matter.
is fine, but the storage and they can leave it there for another month or two if that's what they need, but I'm concerned about them leaving that many railroad ties that close to the river for good.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great, and your commission has, this open permit, so this is a grounds
Yep.
for this discussion.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's
I
why I'm
think
not,
that makes sense.
I don't think we should rush to
Close it out.
relieve them of
Right.
the responsibility.
Understood.
Yeah, honestly, if it was just the vegetation, it would probably be,
Mhm. Yeah, if the whole site was cleared out, be less of a concern, but
Mhm.
they have a mess all over town, so.
right. Let's at least get them to do what we can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Jonathan, is there a seasonal window when track maintenance isn't feasible, or do they do that year-round?
I would say probably they would be less inclined to do it in the winter unless it's emergency
okay.
in nature. I think now they're hitting it hard. A lot of these crews go around the country, or at least around the Northeast, and they're probably rotated in here during the time of year that's optimal for them to be doing the work. That being said, I'm sure there is some maintenance that happens over the winter.
Oh, yeah, but I'm talking about
Yeah,
the big project.
The
kind of.
upgrades, the track replacements.
Thank you.
Yeah. The last sort of question I had, were there any other actions that the commission feels should be taken in pursuit of eventually closing out the permit? We saw a little bit of minor growth of invasives. Honestly, I was fairly pleased with how the restored area looks. We saw a little garlic mustard, we saw a little bittersweet here and there, but if you look beyond the fence into the woods, you're like, oh boy, there's a lot of
Right.
invasives there. And you were just discussing
Yeah.
the ubiquity.
Make it as good as you want, 5 years.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is. Just,
So in essence, if I'm
Do it up.
bundling a series of actions that I'm recommending to CSX in pursuit, if I'd like to know if there's anything else that we should be looking at now while we can take some action in the summer.
Clean it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really,
The debris being
the
Yeah.
debris is
priority
the
one.
biggest thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, great. We will take care of it.
So do you know just how much in Berlin more, so they must have, do they have the ties already marked that they need to replace? I mean, I thought they were all done a month ago, but then, like I said, Sunday, they're going through there with the machine, taking ties out, replacing ties, and so, how many miles more? I'm just curious.
I'm not sure.
It's,
I
I walked
could
part of
certainly
it
ask.
the other day, and it looked like a lot of old ties still in there,
Mhm.
So, anyway, oh well. Just,
Yeah.
but the tracks are a lot heavier than the ones they're taking out. I
Mhm.
mean, the tracks that they're taking out are like that, and these are
Mhm.
very,
Yeah,
very
we even
stout.
noticed that yesterday.
Yeah, and the tracks were a little
The tracks
curvy
a year
before.
ago were, you could stand there and look, and it was just,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when we were there yesterday, they were straight as
Yeah,
an arrow, so
yeah.
that was encouraging, that they're paying some attention.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything else specific that I'm looking for
Okay.
necessarily. So,
Yeah.
and
Great.
if anybody else, yeah,
Don't need to drag it out any longer than necessary.
exactly.
So just to clarify, I wasn't certain of that wall, I mean, I know it's outside of the debris field, or at least I assume it was that large wall there by the intersection. Is
Yep.
that, do we have any jurisdiction over that?
Well, so we've asked Jonathan to mention that.
Okay.
We don't necessarily have jurisdiction under the current order, but if it stays, we definitely do have jurisdiction over it being stored in the riverfront area.
Indefinitely. or-
Correct.
Or whatever,
Yeah,
whatever that is,
Um,
okay.
That would
thank
have to
you.
be under a new.
a new order,
New order,
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Unrelated to the.
Oh, by the way, Jonathan, as we drove away, another 100 yards down from where you and I walked to is where that cut is.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And it's grown up pretty good already, but it was pretty obvious. And that's where the road and the tracks come closest together, and it's a much smaller drop down to the grade of the railroad there.
Okay.
The road is descending.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, I appreciate this information. I think this will be very helpful for me to relay, and we'll take some immediate actions and some, immediate ones and medium-term ones, and get the site all spick and span.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, I appreciate your efforts on our behalf, or, yeah, not really on our behalf, but I appreciate having someone to talk to. And thank you for doing such a good job down there.
Great. Thank you all for your time and your advice. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Yes, and thanks for coming tonight.
You bet.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. So, 100 River Road West. Have we had a meeting since we did our site walk there?
So I think we have had a meeting, but I don't know if we talked about it.
Okay. It looks great
Yeah, it
for for those of you who didn't go on the site walk. They've done a great job, and the same kind of thing. We're just given some time to make sure everything is permanently stabilized. I think that's all we were waiting for, right?
Yeah.
It's just but
We didn't have any sort of stop work order there, did we?
No.
not a stop work order, no.
Okay.
No. But yeah, I was very happy with what we saw. Unfortunately, all those trees had to die while everything waited, but it looks great. So they've done a nice job, and the site is looking good. They have a new manager, a new old manager for the property. There was somebody who was in charge of the site originally, then that person wasn't, and somebody else was, and that person was the person we were having trouble with. And now the first person is back.
Okay.
And it's a much more pleasant experience. And things are actually getting done.
Good.
So, yeah.
Crazy talk.
I know, right? All right. So we have a certificate of compliance request has been filed for 61 Lancaster Road. You remember this was the very long, thin lot with all the wetlands on it. The house is built. They are asking for a certificate of compliance, so Maddie and I went and did a site walk last Monday, I think.
Yeah.
This is a new construction house on that lot, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And And, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I don't think the site's not stable, and I'm not prepared to issue a COC. We have some pictures.
Certainly doesn't look it.
All right, so those are all wood chips.
They asked for a COC on that?
Correct.
Yep.
That's cute.
Yeah. And if it, well, actually, Maddie, if you'll go back to the plans for a second. So there's supposed to be a stone wall up along there that is not built. That's actually where all of those wood chips are. And we had talked with Chris. This is, I always hate when we do stuff like this. We had talked with Chris about putting gravel on the far side of the driveway to offer some sort of filtration between the driveway and the wetlands. It made it onto the plans up by the stone wall, but it didn't make it all on the plans all the way down. And so, yeah, if you can go to, but if you notice, there's none on on this side of the driveway on the plan.
But they put it on both sides.
So this is the lower driveway, but they didn't put it, is there a picture from like the top of the driveway?
Sadly, I don't have a picture on there.
Right,
My phone
so,
was being a pain.
right, I printed some of these. Right, well, so first of all, take a look at that. Yeah, I didn't really take a picture. So, at the low spot on the driveway, I would like to see gravel kind of right, like right in there-ish.
I
Yeah,
think that's kind of the photo of that area.
Right.
Kind of walking down.
You know, so the driveway up by the house is up higher, and then it slopes down, and then it comes back up a little bit. The area along the stream, or the culvert at the street, is not even, they didn't even attempt to stabilize that.
And essentially the rocks are just being held up by the silt fence.
Right,
I was
and
gonna
so,
say
right,
that.
Just
so,
waiting to-
right, so this picture that I'm now passing around, these the gravel over here above the culvert is literally being held in place by the silt
This
fence.
photo makes
Yeah.
it very obvious what's
Yeah.
going on there, cause there's like,
think it was-
it looks like it's almost a 2-foot
Yeah.
drop off right
So
there.
that's
Right.
Pretty much,
the
yep.
last
That's
house, the
insane.
newest house that was built.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, they have some work to do.
Could you go back to the plan, the whole plan, Maddie, please? Yeah, so that dark rectangle is the leach field, I presume.
Correct.
And where is the expansion area? Do they have an expansion area, 100% expansion area there?
I do not believe so.
Yeah, this was like a different type of septic system, right? Like it was a
Oh,
new.
right,
one
this
that
is,
we
the-
didn't
this
want
is
to have
the,
this town that came in,
what's
right?
it, Fast?
Yes.
Yeah.
It should say on there somewhere,
But it was
Oh.
approved by the Board of Health already.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, it is newer technology.
Yeah, like a Price B,
Yeah,
fast.
Fa-
So-
right, exactly. I don't remember exactly.
Hmm.
But, yeah, this is, and
Yeah, this is silly.
and you can see
Yeah.
the outlet of the pipe
Right,
for the culvert.
yeah,
As soon as they take that in, they're gonna fill
Yeah.
in
right.
that.
Their culvert.
Lovely.
They must have hired some real knuckleheads to put that gravel
Yeah.
in, is what happened. I bet that was a separate, like a subcontractor that just swung in with a, big dump truck and just dumped.
So, I mean, are we debating whether to give a COC on that? That what this is about?
Well, one has been requested,
Well, then,
so
we can end this pretty quickly, this conversation.
we certainly can.
May I make a
Vote on it.
motion?
You may make a motion.
I make a motion, we do not grant a COC.
Second.
Oh, yeah.
Any,
Third.
any further
Moving right
discussion?
along.
All right, So Maddie and I will type up something as a response to them. And if they want to come in and further discuss, if they want us to come back out to the site and further discuss, happy to do all of that. But
Has this property been sold to new owners?
oh yeah,
Yep.
the new owner's already living there. We met him.
Mhm.
Yep. So seemed like a very nice man.
Mhm.
And you know, I talked to him some, just a little bit of education about, you know, your driveway is going to be a water runway down to those wetlands. So we talked about, you know, which is why we wanted the gravel. We had talked at one point with Chris about doing check dams, and then apparently we decided that we didn't need to do that. I'm not entirely sure why.
Was this spec house then, or?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So is the new owner being held, like, gonna end up holding the bag on this, or is the developer still?
I'm not sure where, I mean, right, because they were all
Similar
there.
situation to
The
Highland.
developer kind of
Right.
made like weird comment when we were out there because we're like, oh, what are you guys planning on doing to stabilize this? And he's like, oh,
No, he said it was done.
yeah. He's like, oh, it's done. It's off. I'm done with it
Right,
at least.
which is why
Yeah.
Sounds
he,
familiar.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Frankly, I mean, kind of surprises me that you can sell a property with that
I
kind
would-
of
yeah.
condition still extant, but there you go.
Yeah, there might be something we want to do in the OpenGov portal. Maybe make it so if conservation has an order of conditions, they have to have a final sign off on the building permits as well.
Would be fabulous.
I don't know how we go about
Because right now
doing
we
that,
only
but-
sign off when the building permit is issued, right?
Correct, we do not sign off on an occupancy permit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Sounds like we might need to.
Um,
Well, I mean, quite often though, like with the railroad,
The
we
building
wait a
inspector.
couple of years before we get the COC,
Commissioner,
so
sorry.
we can't have people waiting that long.
right, Absolutely, yep.
The building guy.
Right,
Sure.
but, and I totally agree, but some sort of heads up about,
Yeah, got it,
yeah.
right, middle
Yeah.
ground there,
Mhm.
Yeah, so maybe we'll send an email to Richard
Yep,
and
and
see
see.
if there's a mechanism, with which we can do that.
Mhm.
Cause really, right now, the COC is our only lever.
Yep.
Yeah, would that-
Fortunately, more and more people file for COCs
Yep.
than they used to,
Mm.
but,
Would that take an article at town meeting to put us on the building permit, on the occupancy permit?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's just rewriting how the system works. I know Worcester, we have final
So we-
sign-offs and stuff for conservation,
Okay,
but.
okay, that didn't take time, I forget whether, okay.
Mhm.
That would prevent some of these headaches for
Yeah.
new owners.
Yep.
You know, because it's
Right.
not fair to them. I mean, you guys
Yeah.
are dealing with the same thing.
This
you
is
know, it's like-
regulation,
Yeah.
then
It's-
take it
it's-
around meeting vote, I guess.
I think.
Right,
Your
right, and I
regulations.
think,
not
and
fair to dump that
really
on
we're
them.
asking mostly for new construction.
Right.
So,
Yeah, well, it would be
Yeah.
a certificate of occupancy, so that would be either, you know, a heavy-duty remodel.
right,
And even then, only if they, you know, have a situation where they're doing enough site work that it would require us to be involved.
Sure.
Near wetlands or new construction near
Yep.
wetlands.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but it's just, it doesn't seem reasonable to leave homeowners basically, or new owners of a property holding the bag on something that the contractor dropped the ball on.
Yep.
correct.
Especially when they're still liable for it.
Yep.
That's not really fair to them.
Yeah, and when we asked for an as-built, because as soon as I saw that, I'm like, hey, that's not what we agreed to. They said that the as-built had been uploaded to the building permit site, which is how they got their occupancy permit. And this is what was uploaded, so that's where we got this. But the only as-built information, you know, the only thing that is potentially any different from the original filing is the septic in the house. None of the conservation
Well, it's not accurate anyway. They
conditions.
didn't build the wall. If there's somebody
Correct.
who has an as-built, that's not
Correct.
reality. So, I
Right.
mean,
Yes. So it is not an accurate as-built.
which is kind of defeats the purpose of an as-built, as
100% agree. Okay, so we have voted. We'll move on.
Did we vote?
Yes.
We did.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The 72 Carter Street conservation restriction. Anybody take a look at that yet?
I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
It was very
I printed it.
difficult. 42 pages.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to wade through because of all the lined out stuff and.
Yeah, especially with it being like orange too.
Right.
I don't know why I chose
Ouch.
that color. And I
Are there a
couldn't
lot of
change it.
deviations from what we usually do, or? Is it
No, it's
standard?
pretty standard.
Okay.
The only real thing is the comments for the town wells, if needed. So there's a vehicle allowance for vehicles that would be needed to do
Okay.
the wells.
So who wrote it, Maddie?
So I took the
The state
You-
boiler.
state
you
boiler
did it?
one.
Right,
Yeah.
the state
Yeah, and I sat
boilerplate.
there
did
and-
all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cow.
I sat there and.
That took you 40 hours right there.
Right? Right, so there was, so is it this that's highlighted? Oh, right, so the two things basically is allowing vehicles for any potential well,
Mhm.
and then do we want to allow green energy?
Yep. So like for Horseshoe Pond, what we did have like a green energy in there in the event that say green energy gets
Advanced enough?
yeah advanced
Mhm.
enough that it's not disruptive
Mhm.
to
So,
the other.
I mean, what would you expect in the way of green energy in there?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean,
I know.
Yeah.
Well, so like
Well,
they're, so.
why don't we allow for a Native American to set up a teepee if they want in there or something? You know, how far we don't need that green energy thing in there.
Mhm.
It's just another,
It is a small site,
to,
so I would,
I don't, it's
Well,
not a big deal when
when
we're
you-
sorry I said anything.
Do you mean
Oh, no,
like
that's
solar
fair.
panels?
well, but not solar panels, you know, if, let's say, cause we don't know what technology is going to advance to,
Right.
you know, so if they can, put little solar collectors on trees or something,
No, no,
you know.
my chainsaw will cut those. Those dollar chainsaws, you can't nail the trees.
Well, they would just hook. They wouldn't nail, they would hook. I mean, I'm just saying that we don't know what,
It's worth leaving in there in
It
case.
is, I
Yeah.
think, for
It's-
potential grant or something, whatever.
Yeah.
It's good to have that wording in
That's a
there, I
good
think.
point.
I would keep it.
right. Like I know that there are wind collectors that look like a stick and they just wobble,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. Technology continues to advance pretty quickly, so
Correct.
there's something we probably, to your
I'd,
point.
I'd
we
like to
probably
read
can-
the specific verbiage and,
Right.
you know.
So
Cause
did you put the same language
So I pretty
that
much
we
copied
have?
what we had from Horseshoe Pond and
Okay, and what page is that?
so this is page 14. So.
Is the powder house included in the CR, the that's,
So it looks like it's on
That
32.
property is not,
that's a different property, yeah, right,
correct,
okay.
yes,
Yeah, so to give you guys reference, what 72 Carter Street is.
right,
So it's up here. Powder House Hill.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Right.
Or at
right.
least the peak
And
of
the
it.
actual powder house is down over that way some,
No.
yeah.
So does the town own the property the powder house is on? No.
No.
Yes,
No,
No, I don't think so. I
Maybe
heard
not.
the
the
Spalding
town does
family
not own that,
The
that
Spalding
next lot.
family.
oh,
Is that little building on the 23 parcel? Like right on
No,
the-
that's a house.
it's about an 8x8 brick building for
Right.
storing gunpowder for the Civil War.
Oh,
the
because that's
War
what
of
that little
1812.
shedish thing looks like right on the property line. Over on the
Yeah,
left side.
maybe.
See the one like on
Yeah.
you see it.
23 and 32, right
Yeah.
on the line?
Oh, okay.
That one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I honestly don't know
Yeah.
if that's the actual powder house or not.
It's about- it's the
Um,
right spot.
Isn't
That's
it
the
up
one
higher
on the-
though?
on the-
I don't think so. I don't think it's. I think it's high,
Who
like
was
high
contacted? The
elevation,
grantee, is
It's
that
on the
us?
top.
but not so far
So,
from
yes, we're the grantee.
West Street.
Okay.
Right, it's
Oh,
not
wait.
so
So-
far from West
huh?
Street.
Right.
No, we're the grantor.
We're the grantor, so who's the grantee?
Is that the Spalding
So
property?
ideally,
Third 23?
SVT, Sudbury Valley Trust.
I heard the Spalding family.
Okay, so
owned it.
SVT
I think at one time
So
they
the way
owned
this
that
is
whole
phrased, it sounds like
area.
SVT.
If that's true,
They
if
probably
that's,
won't, because it's
yeah.
not really their jam, but they could
'Cause
decide,
yeah,
we're
I know
gonna
it
put
was
a solar
private,
farm
'cause
up
we
here.
hiked up there.
And they
So
could
we're not on
just do
public
that.
land.
Like, there's nothing that says it has to be like completely, like, unobtrusive stuff, it just says they can, as long as it doesn't produce.
There is language
pollution.
in the
Horseshoe Pond one.
Horseshoe Pond
Maybe I
one
didn't
that
copy of it.
covers that.
Maybe I just kept the
Yeah,
the
this,
generic one.
this doesn't
Right.
say anything
Okay.
about that, so, I mean, this just says that produce negligible or no pollution or carbon emissions. And that you can put in transmission lines and the whole, like, so it's like, you could, it basically.
It actually says that?
So basically what
do
that
that?
says
Yeah.
is
To
that.
to
S-
service the whatever,
No, not to service, the way that's phrased right now is that
Yeah, associated
SVT,
transmission
SVT could
lines.
literally just say, we're putting a solar farm in on this whole property, and then they could just do that. They won't, but they could.
Right. Yeah, we
So we
need
should,
to.
yeah,
need to edit
make
that.
sure that, yeah,
We need
they
to.
can't just do that.
Yeah. Right. So I just printed this today. I have not had a chance to go through it, but I did print it and will go through it. So I think in the next 2 weeks, can everybody try to peruse?
Is it just highlighted areas that we need to read, or do we need to read like all 40 pages? Just asking.
Right. Certainly the highlighted stuff, and if
can
you
kinda
can,
skim the others.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Is the other stuff just boilerplate
Yeah.
though?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the most important stuff is the allowances, like, and what's prohibited. So
Right.
making
Okay.
sure those align
Right.
with what we
What's
want.
allowed and what's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I am curious. So all of this crossed out stuff, why didn't that print? Wasn't that lined out
So,
on the?
so I think that's all new text, and then this is what was there before is crossed out.
Oh, okay.
So that was the, yeah, replacement.
Right, because like there's almost a whole page of crossed out stuff.
Yeah.
I did also see. Yeah, we just need to make sure there's, been some borrowing from other sites, and like there was something about another town. So
like
we
we
just
almost-
make sure it's,
I feel like we almost wanna, like, after we do another one of these or two of these, like, make our own boilerplate, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause like,
Don't we have one?
Yeah, I
don't
would've thought we
have
had.
one of those already that we could have just copied? What about,
I mean, I feel like we can use the state boilerplate every time and
right.
make our own little.
there's peanuts in
Comments.
it, that makes it healthy.
Almost a fruit.
Almost.
Grows on a tree. Oh, no peanuts,
No,
no.
not at all.
Sorry.
Here's your fruit right
here. Strawberry, strawberry,
Organic
right?
too, right?
Definitely not.
Also, are we allowing horseback riding up there? You know, horseback riders are up there.
I don't know if that's really conducive to it, is it?
Could be, I mean, potentially.
Well, there's really nowhere to go.
I know, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Right.
And also,
So I think,
Please
Yeah.
waste it.
yeah, just go up and turn around, come back.
well, I noticed in the activity stuff on page 10 that there was nothing about hunting, and then another paragraph down, it says something about hunting.
Yeah, so outdoor passive recreation, so hunting, trapping.
Yep.
I took out fishing because I don't think there's any more resources you can fish in there.
If you can fish there, you can fish
Yeah,
there.
fair.
Now I'm just imagining somebody standing out in the middle of the woods just casting.
Yeah.
Yep, you're gonna catch a tree way before you catch anything else.
Puts an
Basswood?
acorn on the hook.
Yeah,
Catch a squirrel.
Yeah. Basswood.
about a decade ago, there was about a dozen deer stayed up there all winter long. They'd come down in the nighttime, eat everybody's bushes, and then go back up there in the daytime.
Gee, Walter, what happened to those deer?
Well,
One of them tasted
Don't
pretty
ask
good.
questions.
ask his chainsaw.
All right, so if for the next meeting, everybody could do a little bit of homework, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll try to cut and paste a clean copy. Just because we need all the amendments, because the lawyers need to see it this way.
Yep.
But for us, it's easier without all of that.
Yep.
Does that sound reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's a little bit more Olympics. I can sit there while I'm watching the Olympics. Cut and paste and drag and delete.
You realize you
So
can do that in
we're
Word.
gonna allow hurdles up there?
Said you can do that in Word. There's like a little section up there that has like final markup
Mm-hmm.
and or doesn't show
Oh,
markup.
right.
Oh.
So when you do not show markup, all your strike
It cleans it all up.
Yeah.
are gone, and then just
Oh, I'll definitely do
There you
that
go.
assignment.
just do a
Yes,
save as something else, so you can still have
right.
comments. But Word will do that for you, so you're not.
Yeah, and right, and so Maddie sent a PDF and a Word document, so. Excellent, all right, good. So I'll get a not marked up copy to everybody also, so we can read what it really says. And so the comments on the side, if you're gonna do anything on the marked up copy, just go through and read the comments and see if there's anything, cause that's often where there's stuff that you need to pay attention to.
So a lot of these are from the state, just in their general drafting, just as like notes for you when you're drafting your own
Right,
kind of thing.
like, hey, pay attention to
Yep.
this part, right.
So the difference between the activities that were listed, like hiking and so on, and then another paragraph talked about passive activities, is that the difference between why the hunting and trapping weren't in with the other activities? That's kinda, was scratching my head on that, and I didn't bring a copy of that.
Hunting is considered a passive
Page
activity.
10.
Yeah, so they're listed under
Seems pretty.
outdoor passive recreational and educational activities.
I mean, I could see
Bird
bird
watching?
watching,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
you know,
right.
but I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Felt like we didn't need a second paragraph for
Mhm.
put it all in one, but I don't know. The attorney's.
Pass it around.
One of the snippets.
The last one.
Anybody else? Walter?
All right,
There's one left.
I already had two, I'm good.
No.
so I think we can move on from the CR, unless anybody, okay. Trail maintenance,
So, I haven't had a chance to do any work yet, but Walter and I met up earlier tonight and took a look at that broken bridge at Brewer Brook, the one that he, because he did all the trail work until recently, it seems like. And formulated a plan. We're basically just going to replace what's there because it was pretty solid until a rather large oak tree fell on it.
Sure.
So, probably make it a little bit longer because even that area, which is kind of east and a little bit north of like the main kind of pond area, is already still quite wet.
okay,
Because everything's wetter these days. So
Sure.
there's that. I did some. I reached out to Brian Belfer from Northborough Trails Committee and asked him, like, I'm trying to figure out how to get a real trails committee going, and asked him about funding, and he mentioned that the Community Preservation Act actually can be used. They use monies from that for trail maintenance. So
awesome.
buying tools, materials, whatever, and I mean, honestly, given the quantities of money we're talking about from the CPA, like it's pretty small potatoes for trail work.
Right, so,
I might have to go through town meeting, but.
oh, it would definitely
Yeah.
have to go, so all CPA, money, an application gets filed with the CPA committee.
Yeah.
They recommend or don't. If they do recommend that it goes to town meeting, then it gets voted on at town meeting.
Gotcha, okay.
So, but that's once a year.
Right.
So what we would need to maybe talk to some of the other administrators in the building to find
I was
out
calling her lead.
is is
Well
to
done.
to find out if we can request $10,000
Yeah.
to be put into an account to be spent this way.
Yep.
I'm not sure, or or a number, $5,000, whatever.
Yeah, I think initial would be in the probably 10 to 20 range, just so, we're gonna want some tools, maybe a shed somewhere on town land that we can
I was
store
gonna
stuff.
say, that would be nice to be able to have a place to store them.
Yeah,
Right.
and then materials, but I'm just
Right.
throwing it out there.
Right, and so we'll need to put together some kind of proposal,
Yeah.
an estimate,
Yep.
some, because as someone who sits on the CPA committee, I can tell you that what they will look for is a reason for the number.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Yep.
And, kind of what areas you're thinking that you would attack first and blah, blah.
Yep.
But that would be a great use of CPA money.
Yep.
And, if we put it together properly, it should be a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can put together a proposal for sure. What's the timing on that then?
So, are we having a December town meeting? Okay. So sooner than not
Okay.
to get onto a December town meeting so
see
that
if I
we'll
can-
have the funding for the spring.
Yeah, all right, so I'll see if I can get it together before our next meeting, so we can look
Okay,
at it.
yeah, at
If
least
not
something
that, then-
preliminary. So on the CPA website,
Mhm.
on the town website,
Yep.
is the application. Yeah.
Cool.
And just let me know if you need anything
We'll do, yep.
about that.
Yeah, and actually, as it turns out, I don't know if it was the action plan or whatever the CPAC document is. It's kind of like a charter, maybe. I don't know what the term is, but it's on the website. I don't know. Brian did the research for me, honestly. He
Okay.
sent me an email to link to it, like from page 12. So I wanted to just so part of this, like the CPAC says, enhancement of the recreational opportunities of open space through the acquisition of appropriate parcels. Enhancement purposes for which CPA funds may be used include but not limited to the following: trail connections or access to conservation land and open spaces accessible to people of all ages and abilities. So it kind of gives us a little bit of a
Right, so one thing I know
Rough
is
guide on that.
CPA funds can be used to construct but not maintain.
okay.
So, but what we're talking about is building new bridges,
Yep.
but like routine, regular maintenance stuff that would be funded out of the regular budget or not funded.
think
CPA
through that.
funds cannot be used for that.
Okay, that's
So,
fine.
yep.
Because there's plenty of like new stuff that needs to be built, and that will incur
Right.
a chunk of change. So that works.
Awesome. Did you go and look at the wet side of Brewer Brook?
Yeah, Rob Horn and I did a walkthrough
Right.
a while ago now, but yeah, we took a look at it. I think the most sense, I mean, they're both wet sides at this point, so
Right.
the plan really is going to be to do some substantial rerouting on either side of Brewer Brook.
Okay.
Basically pushing the northwest side trails, which is the thing that's turned into just a swath of mud at this point.
Yep.
That's like 8 feet
Yeah,
wide in
that
spots.
people keep just trying to go
Walk
around
and
and
just makes it worse. So
Yep.
we'd like to push that uphill. Kind of, there's a stone wall that runs along there. We'd like to
Yep.
push it up north of that stone wall. There's already a break in that stone wall that would be a perfect spot to re-enter in there.
Yep, we just need to watch the property lines.
I looked at.
That is the Tyler, those were the Tyler gifts, that's owned by the
They
town.
both are?
Yeah, I
Okay,
looked
both
at-
sides of the stone
Yeah,
wall?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I looked
great.
at some property map.
Okay, yep, I just
documentation,
know.
And it looked like it was all like.
Just wanna throw it out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna. I would definitely double check and
Okay.
make sure that we're not gonna be doing anything that would be pointless. Then there's some other spots there, like there's this point further south of that where coming down a hill, there's basically a small stream crossing that goes into Brewer Brook, but it's basically it's eroded to the point where the stream is kind of diverting during heavy rainfall onto the trail.
Okay.
The trail actually is not at such a bad pitch that it should be doing that, so it's more like we need to rock
I know
armor
what
that
you mean.
little
Yeah.
rock armor that little crossing, and then maybe find some big flat rocks to put on top of it to basically bridge it. That will require regular maintenance, but that's like go through once every 3 to 6 months.
Right, and
clean
that's
it out.
not a money thing.
Right, that's a
Right.
person with the gumption to stick their hand in a weird spot periodically and hopefully not get bitten. That's really
Sure.
not a big deal.
We'll send Walter.
That's good. I'll go.
Yeah, I got it. Even let me ask you this. So
Yeah.
you're looking for money for tools for trail work?
Some specific tools, yeah, and then also it's going to be for materials for some of the bigger projects, bigger bridges and stuff like that we would need to do. And potentially if we need to do improvements to, smaller parking areas and stuff like that, like we were talking about, for that newer area of Mount Pisgah access, that would be another thing that we could look at.
So this work is gonna be done by volunteers. We're not hiring people with that money to do this work.
Oh,
right?
no, it's
Correct.
going to be,
So-
improvements to a parking area, if that involves paving, we're going to have to hire a company to do that. or
Right,
something
well,
like
that'll
that,
be a
but-
contract type of thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but other than that, no, it's all going to be volunteer labor.
Cause I just, volunteer, I've got shovels and picks and everything galore, and you get down to landfill every week, there's a couple of shovels and picks there, they're thrown away, and idea of buying tools to do a few repairs, then you gotta store them, because you store them in the highway barn, but, I've got tools, that volunteers usually have their own tools, I mean, you call people together and you go and do a job.
Frequently,
I mean, I just.
But also the materials.
We've gone around a corner in Berlin where everything that's done, it just seems you gotta raise money and do this and do that. The day when we used to just do it seems to be gone. I mean, there's not, trail work and that stuff isn't a big deal.
Well, not to you and not to me, but, if we try to get the Boy Scouts in here and we have 15, 12-year-olds, not all of them are gonna have shovels and picks and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to jump the gun and get this money together and then not have anything to spend it on. I'm going to try to organize some trail work days for this fall for dealing with some of the stuff at Brewer Brook, see how it goes, see what we need, if we need anything else. If we don't, I'm not going to bother. If we do, then I'm going to get some money together and get some stuff,
Right. But it is good to know that there is a funding source.
Yeah.
Should we need funds?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So if you get, say, $5,000, does it have to be used by a certain time?
It depends on how the article's written. The CPA committee is looking at putting at least check-in periods as a condition of the money. Like there's definitely one of the very first projects that we had money has been allotted for that hasn't been done. And so we're trying to figure out how to claw that money back. And so as we do more things, we're learning about the things that we should make sure we have.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so, if you've done nothing for 2 years or whatever time period makes sense for the project, then we would like to have the money back.
Right.
If you're in progress, we would like you to check in and let us know what the progress is and when, how it's going and everything, but,
I can see why that could be necessary in some cases.
yeah, because some projects take a long time. And, so it is good to have the fluidity of being able to customize things, but at the same time, you're not gonna just get a chunk of money and then never do the project. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So actually, I'd like also to, if you could think about the parking area at Lyman.
Yep. Sure.
in your plan,
Sure.
that would be great.
Yep.
There's
'Cause,
a lot of trash back there.
yeah, well, maybe we can organize a special group on Earth Day or something to
Just tackle that. area.
just tackle that area.
Lots of tires.
Ugh.
I mean, I could also, that could be, you know, I wanna do a decent amount of work on Brewer Brook, but I could also maybe treat that as a work day, just kind of starting to prep that area.
That
you
would
know,
be
beat
awesome.
back some of the big brush and stuff like that, drag some of the trash out.
Yep.
Maybe get it to the transfer station or something like that. You know?
Okay.
But we can talk about that. I had another thought, but it's going away now. Never mind.
All right, well, let us know if it comes back. Excellent. That's awesome. Thank you. Anything else on that, or we'll move
No,
on?
I mean, I'm gonna do a first pass on Brewer Brook just to take down, down trees and stuff. There's a bunch of that there right now. I do definitely wanna start getting organized and asking for volunteers, you know, and just, Brewer Brook's really my home turf because I live on Sawyer Hill and I don't really know a lot of the other conservation areas around.
Right.
I just
Right.
don't.
Have you still been in touch with Rob? I know he
Oh, yeah.
was away. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, good.
Yeah, but he knows a lot of the town
Yeah.
properties and stuff, so he's a good resource for sure.
For sure.
But I can talk to him about that, but yeah.
Awesome. All
I'll
right.
talk to, Fred about some tools from the highway department, you know.
Sure.
Like that, reciprocating hedge trimmer stuff. I've got
Yep.
one there to cut a limit like your thumb, but you just go along the trails, you could just.
Yeah, I mean, I've got
Or a
access to some
machete.
stuff, but I don't wanna, some of it's stuff that I'd have to borrow, you know. And doing that on in Brewer Brook area wouldn't be a big deal, but getting outside of that would be a little iffy.
Right.
You know, I've got access to a brush cutter, you know, the brush cutter, you know, which will take down a 3-inch, you know, sapling, no problem, but it's not mine. What was the other thought I just, I'll let you know.
Okay. We'll be here.
Oh, that's what it was, mowing. So the Pleasant Street entrance, that
Yeah.
area. Rob was talking about it. It might not be a bad idea to mow from that entrance to maybe over the top of the dam. I think already gets mowed periodically.
Somebody must, because
Yeah.
it definitely gets mowed.
It gets mowed
Yeah.
periodically, but it does get pretty overgrown pretty quickly. And it would be nice to do just a swath from there at least to the woods
Right.
on the west side.
Yep. Yep. Does the highway department mow Brewer Brook, or does the state?
No, the highway department won't touch anything.
Right,
with
so
the
it's
state
the-
land.
right, so it's the state, yeah.
It's gotta be
DEM.
because it's
Yeah.
flood prevention.
Yep. Right, so the state is the one that mows that,
Okay.
so.
So is that technically state land then?
Yes, it is.
So we might not even be able to touch that.
Just touch it, don't worry
What are you doing? Walter said I could.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Walter,
You don't have to
All right.
ask permission every time you breathe, just do it.
Try to do stuff by the
I
book,
will
Walter.
cut.
I understand.
All right.
All
right.
I'll call DEM and see if I can, who's in charge of that. And if necessary, we'll simply call our state senator and ask him or her to
Her.
twist their tail a little bit and they'll take care of it. But
Okay.
that's a pretty local, very popular place and DEM should maintain it, so.
Yeah.
I'll make a couple of calls on that.
See,
Right,
make
it would
noises
be-
about ticks and Lyme disease, and I bet that'll get their butts out there a little quicker.
Right. Also, it would be good to have a contact,
Absolutely.
so that
Yeah.
if we do want to do something,
Yeah.
we have someone to
We have
call.
someone to talk
Yeah.
to who's hopefully sympathetic.
Yes. All right, we're gonna move on. Annual monitoring reports.
Yep, so Kristen O'Brien sent over reports for the O'Brien property and Acre Woods. So O'Brien property, looking good, no real comments. I saw a flock of turkey while they were out there with young. Other than that, everything's looking good.
Awesome.
Acre Woods, says improved since last year, no changes by snowmobilers or bikers detected. However, there is a bus turnaround at the southern edge of the property, and it looks to be
Meeting's over, sorry,
Yeah.
battery's running low.
Yeah. So there's that trail that leads basically from the school bus turnaround. That's new. And AJ has put signs on that.
Right, and it looks like somebody piled some brush across it. It has not been cleared, so thinking the signs or something discouraged further.
Tom, do you have anything to report?
So I haven't seen any sign, not since you put the yellow signs up and then they get torn down like a day later.
Yep.
And then you put new yellow signs up, and since then, I haven't seen any sign of anybody using a motorized vehicle.
Oh,
in the
that's
woods there,
wonderful.
Which is very good.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, just, if we get 3 inches of snow, we'll have to
Yeah.
Right. Well,
check it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Follow the snowmobile tracks to the shed.
Yeah.
Shed.
Yeah.
We see it, so if
Yep.
something's going on, we know it, or we hear it. And the dog's here.
Awesome. Just those two, Maddie?
Yep.
Excellent. And still Ager Woods. Let's, yes, sir?
Matty, did Gary send, I talked to Gary Gouldrop, and he was going to send a contract to start to implement and come up with a plan. Did he send anything?
Did
told him
not
to
see
send-
anything.
Oh, I said, because I told him to send it to this instead of me. I'll call him and have him send it to me.
Okay.
And we'll have it, now, we'll have it
And then
next
forward it,
meeting, and
okay.
we can look at it and decide the way we want to go with that.
Okay.
But it'd be more or less, he would take the plan and then go out, they do all the bidding and everything else, and they take their cut off or whatever came out of it and manage the whole thing for us, so that would be the way to do it. I think.
Yeah, I mean, because he definitely talked about different options, so
Right,
I would
right.
like
So
to
we'll
get
have-
an idea of
oh,
what he thinks
Don't worry,
would be.
we'll all be involved in it.
Oh, yeah,
We'll
no,
walk the
I
thing
know, yep,
again.
I'm not
Okay.
worried.
Yep. Okay.
I did put Tom's presentation.
Oh, good.
I emailed it to you probably like a month or so ago. Tom put together a proposal essentially to us
A while
for
ago.
a while ago.
Right.
Yeah. And I walked the property a couple weeks ago with
Right.
them to see the area that he's talking about.
Okay.
Well, that'll all be considered when we
Yep.
get Gary in here, and then Tom, and we'll all
Yep, all
get
sit
together with the
together.
neighbors and sure.
Right.
But it was
Yeah.
definitely a great
Be
proposal on his end. So
Do you want to?
yeah, sure. So their request, I guess. I don't know. Do you want to
No,
run
can
it?
just go
Okay.
through it. I mean, there's not a lot there.
Okay.
It's basically, we're just, as it states there, we live, you can see in the, here.
Yep.
It's easy enough. So here's the Ager Woods parking lot. This is our property. And what we're proposing is if you're gonna put a patch in here somewhere, if you could put it like in this general area right here, because we wanna put some solar in. There's two reasons. We wanna put some solar in. We're not even gonna be able to do it on the roof of our house because our house is right here and it's just completely, we'd have to cut down a ton of trees. So we're instead gonna cut down some trees over here and then sort of maximize the open space we do have and sort of use that and build a pavilion on this side of the property with solar panels on top of it.
Right.
And I'm saying, and if, so we're gonna do that one way or another, but if you're gonna cut some patches, if you could put a patch right about there, or when I say if you could put, I'm saying, if you would consider
Yeah.
locating a
Yep.
patch there, we would do all the work, we'd take care of the whole thing, we'd coordinate and whatever we needed to do, and then above and beyond that, if you were gonna do that, we would ask to be able to leave it open. I think what the tree plan assumes that you're gonna cut a patch somewhere and then over time it fills in and the canopy grows in again.
Well, part of the reason for clear cutting a patch would be to create meadow habitat.
Well, that's what I'm
So,
proposing
yeah.
here. If you could designate, we'd make this a meadow habitat, we would then maintain it. So, we're not gonna let the black birch grow in and shade it all out. And then we would also offer, again, no cost to the town, we would do additional plantings, there's a really good nursery out in Western Mass that has native New England wildflowers and plants and things like that. So put in shrubs that are very conducive to the birds that you guys are trying to go out there and band and catch. I'm all in on with you on it. I like the idea. And then I was even thinking after the fact, if you said, if you could just advance it, like, let's just find another picture. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Back. All right, so let's say you say, yeah, we'll do it, and you said, let's say the patch goes right there, that's just a ballpark, that's not any specific dimension. But I was thinking after that, if you say this is gonna be the patch, then we're gonna say have our solar, and so the sun is going through there, I would say, well, let's cut the patch a little bit bigger on either side, and put some of those yellow birch trees in that the tree guy was talking about, that specific warbler needs in order to nest. I don't know that I have any of those on my property, but I would be very happy to plant some of those just based on that fact. So anyways, things like that, we'd be happy to do. Also, in terms of plantings, we could irrigate anything that might need that in order to be able to really get a good foothold. I would also be willing to go in and put fencing around individual shrubs to prevent deer from being able to prevent the shrubs from growing. Because one of the meetings were up before you, they were gonna plant what was there already. It was a thing, and they needed to fill in and we'll just plant what's there already. And I thought about that. That's good, but then you know what's there already is just the stuff that the deer will eat. And there's probably a lot of stuff that would have been there if the deer hadn't eaten it. So it'd be nice to maybe sort of beef up a meadow and have it set up so that actual plants could be there that would have been there if the deer didn't overeat anything. And anyways, I've taken a lot of your time. But anyways, so this is kind of what we're saying. We'll take care of it. We will nurture it. Make sure, all the good stuff happens.
We might have to make you an associate, though.
I would happily do that. No, whatever it takes, I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah.
And
I'm Sue, I live with them.
Right.
Yes, we can make you both associates.
I'd be happy to do that. And again, we don't have any plans. We're not gonna turn this into a condo complex or something like that. This is, and I'm gonna cut down trees just to build a pavilion. I hate having to do that. I sit in the house, I look at the tree, I wanna cut those trees down, but I want solar power, so, anyway.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds like a deal.
Right, yeah, I mean, as we've discussed.
Oh, and I will also, Maddie, first of all, thank you so much for taking your time and come out and looking at it.
No problem.
And if any of the rest of you would like to come look at it at any time, just let us know. We're very flexible. I have a very flexible schedule, and any time that works for you, I will accommodate that. You can come out and look at it.
Yeah, and as we have discussed, if we're going to create this meadow habitat, I don't see why we couldn't help out a neighbor at the same time, especially if it makes sense for it to be there. So, yeah.
And another thing that's nice about their property, I was nervous originally when you're like, oh yeah, come do, I thought there was gonna be invasives, because usually along the edge is where we see invasives, but
Yep.
I didn't see anything really.
Well, that's what I
didn't
was
see
thinking
bittersweet and
too. Yeah, I was gonna say, that was what I was thinking too, is if it's right off their property and it's not at the edge of, the tree line.
Yeah, this
Hopefully
is
they're
set back
less
from the
likely
street
to-
too.
Yep.
Right.
Whatever I'm proposing is
Yep.
200-300 feet from the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
And you were saying easier access, right? So we're not destroying
Right,
trails
right,
to
so
get in.
also in terms of building the patch, right, if you put a patch anywhere else in Ager Woods, they're gonna have to drive a skidder down the trail to do that.
Right.
Nobody's gonna drive a skidder down the trail to do this. I'm gonna drive from my property with my tractor and go in there and take out any trees. With your permission.
Right, right. So, yeah.
Again, so coordinate whatever trees need to
Yeah,
come
just one
down.
thing I wanna get straight. You got a lot of deer in your backyard?
I do, I do.
Any bucks?
He's hoping to put a tree stand in that new meadow.
But isn't
Okay,
there a
we'll take
rule-
care of you, don't worry about it.
Would there need to be some type of an agreement?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that would be fun.
It
We
would-
were happy
yeah.
to do,
Right,
wanna be
yeah.
totally above board about this, we're not trying to slip anything back
Oh,
to
yeah.
anybody.
Yep.
And I just love the idea of having a meadow right next to it, because,
That's kind of what we've been trying to create in our backyard.
Right,
As you
yep.
can see.
yeah,
Yep.
we've cleared a fair amount of trees since we moved there. We've got a lot of pollinator stuff that we've got, like for instance, here's these guys right here, I planted these are cool. And then these guys right here, these are hazelnuts. And they're great because they'll get about that tall and then they won't get any taller.
Right.
And then they provide, food for the deer and the squirrels and all that kind of stuff too.
Awesome. All right. So that's the stewardship plan. So you're gonna have Gary send something.
Yep.
And last but not least,
Yep. So map season just wrapped up this past weekend. While we were out there, we observed 43 different species of birds.
Wow.
We had banded 60 new birds out there.
for the season.
Yep, for the
Yeah.
season. And there are 16 different species that made that up. We had 4 recaptures, including 2 ovenbirds that were from the previous year.
Awesome.
And they were in the same exact net as they were last year. So that was pretty cool to see.
And who's this little guy?
So this is one of the ovenbirds that was recaptured.
Okay, yep.
And then here are some of the highlights that we had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What is that, a Sharpshin or a Cooper?
That's a Broadwing.
Broadway, oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, so.
Is it Scarlet Tanager in the lower left?
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was caught in the net closest to your house.
And what's the one in the middle on the bottom?
That's a house, Carolina Wren.
Oh, yeah, we get
Yep.
a lot of those.
Oh.
Yeah.
Their call is
Just- yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's
I
a
love their
it's a
call.
young one, and we
It's
also
a
yeah.
fledgling, yeah.
Okay,
why
that's
it
why it
looks
doesn't
rough.
look
Yeah, it looks
like,
weird.
I'm like, why does its face look like that?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a beautiful
Yeah.
blue jay.
Yeah.
It's not a kookaburra?
Not in this
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Kingfisher.
Betty can do anything, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised when you say you don't often recatch the ones that you caught like the week before or something like that?
No, not too often. Like we had 2 same season recaptures, but yeah. But hopefully next year we'll get more recaptures.
Yeah.
Now that there's more out there
Yeah,
banded.
Maddie,
so.
that, I've seen these on the Facebook, which is wonderful. You're gonna write this all up. I think it's an interesting thing, you know, for
Yeah, I should actually do a.
people, even
Nice
to know
write-up.
what MAPS is
Yep.
and what the basis of it is. And then, you know, a little bit about the idea. People, I talk to about it. I can't explain it. Somebody asks me and I tell them about it and they're fascinated by
Yeah.
it, you know. And people think, gee, I wish
Yeah,
I knew
it's a
about
lot
that.
of his on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's well worth publicizing.
Yep. Like your granddaughter's got to come out and get
Yeah,
to see
yeah.
the ovenbirds that
They
you know,
did.
potentially go down to where they are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they loved
Gracie's
it.
come out and enjoyed it. But yeah, we'll do saw-whats in the fall too. So
Can you go
That's-
back to your statistics so that I can, share with, the board? Very
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, the Sowet's more my time of day.
yep.
Yeah, so I'll be out there again.
Are those
The
little-
owls.
I
the
gotta
little
try and
owls,
get there
yes.
this fall.
Yep.
Supposedly it's supposed to be a good season. It's been a really good breeding season from them. People reporting up north. It's been a good season for them. So
Awesome.
in theory, there should be a bunch.
When will that be?
So we'll start kind of mid-October.
And what time do you generally, are you out there?
Like a half hour after sunrise, sunset.
Okay,
Yeah,
until.
until about like 10.
We can hear them.
You can hear the.
Yeah, we can.
It sounds like a.
It's like space aliens are out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like
Oh,
an
the
Amazon truck
recording
is
that
backing
she's
up.
got going?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome, thanks,
Um,
Maddie.
Yep.
But yeah, they're so cool.
That is cool, yeah.
Yep.
That'd be a nice article for the item.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would.
Write it
That could
up,
work.
send it, and
Yep.
then I'll get it out to, Jan.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome.
That's right.
Yep.
Thank
But
you.
that dovetails with, haha, no pun intention, with the forestry work.
Mhm.
You know, the forestry work is to improve that area for bird habitat. So having this initial baseline is just, you know, couldn't be better.
Yep.
And then it'll be exciting to see what
See what happens,
what
see
new
what changes. Yep.
yeah new species we get.
Yep, because a lot of these species do rely on those kind of more shrubby habitats, especially this time of year. Because what they're doing is they're going to go fatten up before they migrate, so they need those
The
areas.
berries and
yep.
yep.
So.
You said that's an ovenbird right there?
Yep.
Yep, they have a
You-
very
you-
distinct call too.
Teacher,
Oh, yeah.
teacher, teacher.
Beautiful.
Is that?
Yep.
That's the mnemonic or whatever you
Yeah.
call
Yep.
it.
So that was the
Teacher
most
bird.
common bird we banded. We banded 11 of those guys out there. The second most common was tufted titmouse. We got 9 of those guys this
There's
year.
a ton of those around.
Yeah.
Yep. Who else we got? We got black-capped chickadees, white-breasted nuthatches, hermit thrush, brown creepers. We got 4 of all those species. So. Yep.
Awesome.
Have you ever caught
Yeah.
a pileated?
We have not at this station. I have in the past, but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
They're huge.
They're huge.
That's so hard to
And
get a
they're
picture of.
Yeah.
talons.
They
Yeah.
are very elusive.
Yeah.
I finally got videos of them, but it was very hard to get pictures because it's like as soon as I go to take a pic, they fly.
They go
left.
or they
live.
go around the other side of the tree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, how do you know what a camera is?
They're usually up pretty high too, in my
Yeah.
experience. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're so amazing.
There's a lot of them out there. We heard them
Very
today. They're out
prehistoric
Yeah,
there.
looking.
yeah, they're out
Yeah.
there. They just yeah.
Stalking away.
Yep. Awesome. Well, as always, thank you for doing this. It's
No problem.
amazing.
Thank you for letting me do this.
Yeah. Does any other member of the commission have anything they would like to discuss?
I was just gonna mention that Monday night I went to
Oh,
the
right.
grant initiation meeting with Mass Trails, so I have a form I need to fill out, and then I need to reach back out to VHB, and hopefully we can move forward with our feasibility study and beyond.
Do we create a special account for that money, or do we bill it as it happens?
It's like all behind the scenes. I don't ask questions. Well, we did ask questions, but then we still just let it happen behind the scenes. So we'll find out more when we have to start billing, but
Right.
there'll be a bunch of paperwork then. But I've been assured that it's sorted out.
Cool.
With like all sorts of town math kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Accounting. Yeah.
Couple of things. 21 things, actually.
You
On the
get
community
3.
outreach, it's
Maybe.
something we really, I think we're a little weak on, and we could do a little more. And this thing that Maddie did is talking about is a great thing for community outreach, but also tie that in with the Bluebird Trail that AJ and I worked on earlier this year. We've got 40 bluebird houses out, and every one that I've seen's got bluebirds in it that I've checked. So that it's quite, you know, when I tell people about it, they go, oh, really? And they don't know about monitoring it, and there's a whole thing. If you ever Google it up, bluebird trails, there's an encyclopedia on it. But I think it'd be a way to engage public a little bit more, particularly those with kids, and get them involved and tie that in with what Maddie's doing, so it'd be kind of a bird, I don't know, Berlin birders or something, just to be one way of outreach a little bit more and engage public in what we're doing and make them understand what it is.
Do we have a map?
Huh?
Do we have a map of the birdhouses?
Well, I have a map and I put some on there, but again, I haven't had a chance to do it. I've been working on the garden up at town quite a bit, and then the wall and a few other things, but the Bluebird Trail should be developed more, and people should be engaged in a little bit more, and we really should map it out. I've been trying to get a hold of somebody I know that's excellent with Google, with mapping programs, you know, to map it out and keep track of it and number them and find people to adopt a birdhouse and then write it up and keep a schedule of it. And I think we would get people engaged in a little bit more. You
Yeah.
know?
Can
And
that
then-
be your over the winter project?
Oh, it's pretty much over the summer, but I mean, this fall, I will be, I want to get it mapped out.
Get it
But
mapped out, numbered and everything,
Yeah.
and then we can,
Right.
late winter, start looking for volunteers
Yeah.
to
So they're
adopt
ready for the
adopt a
spring.
birdhouse, and so that we're ready for spring.
Yeah, right, exactly. And the other thing is, another thing, I mentioned this before, you know, and I know we have one, but you go to some conservation commissions and they have websites that are just incredible. And I don't know if they pay professionals to do them, if they find someone in town to do it, but I'm not skilled in that at all. Does anybody know anybody that could take that and we have some
I know,
outdated stuff on there. You ought to
unfortunately.
delete things that have gone by and
Right.
figure out how to structure it so that people would go on there. Or in the meantime, somebody that's more computer literate than I, at least let's put some on Berlin Neighbors Connect. I mean, whenever I put anything on there of historical significance or anything, the responses, 70, 80, 100 responses. But I think people would buy into it. And the idea is strengthening the idea of the commission, the environment, and getting it protected. Another outreach one is Carolyn's good idea. I've talked to the bear biologist and I haven't talked to him yet. I've been swapping calls with him, but maybe in September we'll hold a seminar and maybe bring in
Right, like a
surrounding
bear
towns.
education,
Yeah.
Where we, right? No, you don't get to pet them. But so, I don't know how many, if anybody saw. So over Keith Susi, posted a video. He had a bear come and visit his horse and goats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Pretty
Wow.
cool.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the video is a couple minutes long.
Yeah.
And so, he called me and we were talking some, and it got me thinking that, more and more, there's more bear sightings, the population's growing, the habitat's going away, bear and people encounters are going to become more frequent in Berlin. So we should, try to do some
Just
education.
Put it in a little perspective for you. In the mid-'80s, when I was commissioner, we had 400 bears in the state. Like, wow, 400 black bears, man. There's 4,500 now.
Wow.
And it's increasing exponentially. At the same time, when I was a kid, oh, geez, I'm going to kill a bear and have a bear rug, which I did. But now you kill a bear and have a bear rug, and nobody's hunting. Where is this going to end? What are they going to do to control the bear population?
Right.
The collisions are there. It's going to be something in 10 years.
We had our first sighting in Island Ridge just a couple weeks ago.
It was
Right
probably
above
the
house.
same bear.
Well, I could very
Almost
very well be,
surely.
yeah.
Yeah, we had one wander through the.
Was it
northern
small?
Parking lot.
Yes, small. I
Almost
didn't see
surely
it,
the
but
same
that's
bear.
what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had one wander right through like our,
Yep.
parking lot by my house, which is very close to my house.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they're around.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there's all kinds of information on the the Fish and Wildlife website about how to live with bears and tips and all of that. But you kind of have to search for it. So I think, and we can open, if we do this, we can open it up to some of the neighboring towns as well. See if people are interested. But, seeing a lot of the comments on Facebook and everything, I think there's a lot of fear that we can maybe help alleviate, make people a little
These are
bit more comfortable.
Black bears.
Correct. Yeah.
They're pretty chill.
Right.
Like,
Right, but if you don't know, you don't know. You hear
Understood.
bear, you're like, bear. So I think it's a good idea for
Just
us
watch the
to
revenue.
try to do some
Okay.
education.
True, we'll do it in September. I'll get
Perfect.
Dave Waddles over. We'll do
That
it.
would be great.
One more thing is that on the garden thing, we got quite a garden planted there on Pleasant Street, which we funded and got going, a lot of volunteers. I get a lot of comments on it. I would like to have people, there's 3 or 4 good gardeners, AJ being one, Judy Clark, and the lady up on Barnes Hill. And just look at the gardens and come up and do a little more planning. That garden, if you get down on it, it's really good. I don't know what the petunias were, but they spread out and they're beautiful. But going by the road, it's down over and it doesn't show up. Like you look at Jane Sawyer's garden, it's right in your face. So I want to get people that know more than I do about taller plants. There's a lot of black-eyed Susans. But then like coming up Pleasant Street there, the not rhododendrons, the
Hydrangea.
The hydrangeas.
hydrangeas are out. And then there's a yellow group of black-eyed Susans just in front of it. But you ought to have something just hit you. So we should do a little more planning. And I know I like this idea of this native plants. We should look and find out either adding some into that or going down in the field. There's a couple of black walnut trees along the edge of that field. They're about this big around. They're just perfectly shaped. And they're so loaded, the limbs are just loaded, dripping down with
Wow.
walnuts right now. And I think, so we'd take a walk, AJ, and find out where we could set up one of those and label plants, and that could be part of another kind of get out and enjoy nature. So we could do it there, and there's some bluebird houses along there, and then further on I planted a couple American, chestnuts,
Yeah.
and they're loaded.
Are they doing well?
A lot of birds
Good.
on them, yeah. So that's gone. And I cleared out, you go down, you couldn't even find out where the trail is at Brewer Brook, so that's all cleared out. But we should make that into more of a nature trail, similar to, you know, what Ethan's talking about, Brewer Brook, and just develop a few things and strengthen our support in town. Some of that outreach,
I would love to
visible
do,
outreach stuff,
yeah,
you know?
some more, and we can use CPA money
was gonna ask
to
that.
make little education stations,
Mhm.
signage or whatever
Yeah,
we
yeah.
decide we want to do.
Yep, yep.
That would be great.
Jeff D'Amico did that little garden in front of the old town hall, that looks good. The Smiths did the little planter in front of the store, but there's a couple other places that we could do something, but, I mean, I'd like, if we could develop that into a spin-off garden club in Berlin, that would be great, because we've got enough to do. But anyway, and just finally, anybody who wants to sometime one of these nights and give me a hand, we should go through that garden on Pleasant Street. I keep it watered and been weeding it, and it's in good shape, but be nice if we had a pole in there, some stuff coming up. Maybe some night this weekend when the rain's over or something. Anyway, but that whole idea of engaging the public a little bit more in what we're doing and what we have here. The people that know what we have really appreciate it. I get a lot of good compliments, but then you get a lot of people, oh, geez, I didn't realize this, so
I know.
let's pull them in and get their support. We gotta get support to buy some more land in town. There's some acres here before our local builder gets at it.
Well, I think that's part of my motivation too in getting a trails committee going, is you get people who are working on the trails
Yeah.
and feel a sense of stewardship and a
Right.
sense of, more of a sense of community and
Right.
more awareness of what we have here.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it all kind of, does this when you start
Yep.
working on it.
Yep,
Great.
absolutely. Don't tell me you don't have anything.
Well, I don't even know how to say this now, but SVT has proposed August 22nd for delayed invasive pull at Highland.
That was
Have
gonna be
fun.
my next
Yeah. So here's my thought on invasives, pull, things like that. Saying don't do anything about it is like saying never put another mouse trap out. There's always going to be mice in the shed.
Yeah.
You put mouse traps out to keep them down. You know, I mean, you don't just let them have free reign.
Yep.
So yes, it is Sisyphusian to try to keep
It's
up
almost
with.
9 o'clock. You can't use a word.
Can you spell it?
Look it up.
You need to spell it. If you use it, you have to spell
Oh,
it.
geez,
But I
where's
do
your-
think it's good to educate people what they are, and if they say it, to do something about it, as opposed to not knowing and thinking, "Oh, this is pretty. I'm going to let it go." I mean, if you kind of gradually do what you can with it, people are walking the trails and they see something, they can take care of it,
Yeah.
and they're educated about it, and. If
Yeah, like once a
it can't
year.
hurt.
Once a
Yeah.
year, I go around my yard and I just do a massive hack back.
Yeah.
You know, and I still have bittersweet.
Oh,
I
yeah, it's
still
always gonna
have,
be there,
you know what I
but at
mean?
least
It's always
you're-
going to be there, but it's not way up in the trees
Right.
because I cut it down at the base, and you know, so
If that's the goal, that's right, and your analogy about the mice is perfect.
thank you.
Spot safety improvement is what you're talking about. And if you're talking about that with weed pulling, that's fine, but if you think you're gonna get anything under control in our
Oh no,
woodlands and along the
they're
roads,
here.
forget it.
Right,
Yeah.
invasives are
The
here,
more
but
you
just
pull it up, you make space for more growth to come in.
Well,
Out
I
of
think
control.
I think there's, you said like spot control and safety, like, I mean, that's a worthy goal, right? Because that maintains
Spot improvements, right.
Spot improvements, sure. Like, but
Like
with
my yard.
that, yeah. But that's, and like what they're talking about doing, in that little meadow they want to do,
Right.
and stuff like that, but that's something that we can, that's more attainable, and it provides more native habitat for wildlife.
Right.
Right.
So that's
Yep, but even, you know, just keeping, for us, as far as the trails and stuff going,
Yeah.
just keeping it out of the trees.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's gonna keep the trees from falling, from
Right.
coming down on the trails or whatever,
Yeah.
you know? In the fall, I go around with a pair of loppers and I just cut the base of everything that's growing up into the trees and then leave it. And then in the spring, when nothing has any leaves, it comes out pretty easy.
Mhm. Well, I think you know, not doing something about the invasive is causing a problem for our native birds and, right, because they're not getting the food that they need.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't so much interested in telling it back off as I was trying to point out a fact. We can do your little spot improvements, and that's fine, and that might be helpful, but I'm just telling you, our woodlands in New England are changed forever, and they're getting worse by the year.
Yep.
It isn't, I can remember, you know, I mean, people, oh, the dead trees, should have been with Ethan and I today, the huge trees dying and falling down, stuff growing up. You go, it's impenetrable.
Oh,
You can't get along Northbrook. When I was a kid, you fish all in Northbrook, you can't get near it
Right.
anymore.
Yeah. Walter, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't like this.
No.
Yeah.
You know, in the
That's right.
like 80s, like
Yeah.
it's insane what's happened in the last 30
Yeah,
years.
it's
great.
totally, it's not a New England forest, it's a
It's a jungle.
jungle.
I've
Yeah,
taken
and
a
our trees
few
are dying. I mean,
classes with
I've lost
SVT, and their
7
goal is
trees
never
on my
to
little
eliminate
strip
this
of
stuff,
property
but
there.
Yeah.
try to
And
keep
I've
it
got
under
2 more that
control.
need to
Yeah,
come
Yeah, I
Keep it
think
in
that's
check.
the key, is
Yep.
keeping
It's
it
all
under
because
control.
of
You
the
can't
business.
get rid of it, you
Yep.
have to learn to
I would
deal
love it
with
if they
it.
start doing these polls, you know, not at like 9 o'clock on a weekday, but yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for
It's 10 to noon, by the way.
but
I'll send
one
you a
thing
flyer.
that people have asked me at our gatherings is, can we ever do it on a weekend?
Right.
And have more than 10 days notice so they can get on the schedule. And then to the other point is, I think people are happy to participate, and we're grateful. I don't want to sound like we're not.
No, but we all feel the same way.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
you do. So I guess, is there a way we can be more proactive with them to say, hey, if we can do one in September or October, can we maybe do a weekend?
On the
And-
SVT properties, if you take the brief training classes that they offer, and they will say, okay, you are good to go, and do polls on your, in fact, what they're looking at is minimum of 4 hours a month or something during
Okay.
seasonally.
Right. So does that mean that you are now SVT certified
Yeah.
so that we could do our own poll on a
You know,
weekend?
I'd have to ask the question, am I certified to lead a poll?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second.
And if not, what
And
else?
as
What
long
do
as
you
they
need
have,
to
they
do to
sign
be-
all those waivers that they ask
Yeah,
you to
right.
sign, right? As long as that happens.
I know. But yeah, because we don't necessarily need them. We really, and I mean, we kind of need permission from them, but we kind of don't because it's, well, the Highland Ridge, they own that property, so we do need their permission. But some of the properties, you know, we can
Push
do it on
upon,
our
yeah.
own, yeah. 40 Caves, there's lots of places.
I mean, we could, I'd be, you know, more than happy to roll that into, you know, trail work day stuff too, because it's
Right.
all related,
Yep.
you know.
Yep, they're out there. Yeah, so, but see if they will let you lead a weekend poll, 'cause, and, you know, preferably not at 9 a.m. on a weekend, but, you know.
Well, yeah, we
I'll
can
see
do
you
that
at
by
10.
It'll be 9 to noon.
We could
Yeah,
be, we could be done by
Show
9.
fashionably late. Double digits are fine, just, you know, bring some donuts.
Yeah, deal.
So the next question then, of course, are the trees, because so many homeowners, including ourselves, since obviously our builder could have cared a, you know what, about any of that, is, and I don't know whether that's something, if you work together, you know, if you were part of that, I know that's one of your specialties as well, so forgive me, I'm just learning some of these things.
Yeah.
So maybe if we can incorporate that and try to figure out a dialogue with them to see how we deal with that. You know, I mean, that's a next year project.
So what about,
What about the trees?
there are several dead trees or dying trees all within striking distance of our homes.
Oh, fun.
And what do we do?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's, so again, I kind of defer to what you think. I mean, it doesn't have to be, and maybe we won't get it done this year, but I mean, it would be nice, at least, even if we thought of it as a spring project, but if we could do something even before all the leaves are off, so we know what we're looking at.
Right.
So I kind of defer.
Just to
you.
identify them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we got it, and I don't know whether that's helpful to combine that with like an SVT project, again, so maybe that's all kind of a wish list.
Are the trees on conservation land, or are they on
conservation land?
Right,
Okay.
so what happens
it's-
often.
Or close,
right.
or very close.
So, you
whatever.
know, you've got a whole wooded area.
Yeah.
You cut out all of the trees here.
Yep.
Now, some of the stuff that was weaker
Yeah.
inside is now on the edge.
Yep.
So, and that's what, you know, is kind of happening there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think a lot of the trees along that edge, though, if the roots were disturbed during construction and grading and all that,
Yeah.
sometimes they'll die the same year, sometimes they'll die 5 years
Right.
down the road, but
Yeah.
the roots get scraped up and the bark is compromised and microbes get in there that don't belong in there, and it may take several years for those trees to die.
Right.
So, those dead trees are a banquet for birds, but if they're threatening a house, if they're threatening, you know, if it's dangerous to the residents, that's a different way to look at it.
So I guess that's just finding, you know, what's the solution, so we can at least identify what we have.
Right.
And look at that as a 12 to 18 month project, really. I mean, I don't wanna make it sound, you know, the sky is falling,
Right.
but I think it's a fair question, and we're not freaked out by it, by anything of that nature, but I think that, again, it's an elderly population,
Sure.
and so I think there's a natural concern, so whatever we can work on together, and you know I'm happy to do whatever I can do to further
Yeah.
that as well. Thank you.
invite Maddie over for lunch.
Yeah.
All right. Or afternoon
No.
tea, that's what my wife
Yeah.
likes
There
to
you
do.
go.
My
Okay.
London born and bred, she's
Yep.
into that.
Well, if it's tea, I should be invited too.
You know what, absolutely.
No, high tea, yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. Awesome. All right.
Thank you
well,
very
we
much.
Can, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Anybody have anything else?
I make a motion to end the meeting at 8:56 p.m.
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye.